Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking with Chef Rich. Today we're going to be making a homemade chicken soup. The chicken soup I'm going to make, it's a little bit pricey and it does take a little bit of time, but it's a really good homemade soup. No chicken base, no bought chicken stock, it's 100% from scratch. If you've worked in restaurants before, or if you worked in a hotel, they make stock, then they fortify the stock, and it's a whole big process. We're just going to do this once. The actual cooking time is about 1 hour and 15 minutes, but it's a really great recipe. So let's jump right in. Over here I have 1.5 large onions cut up. There's 2 ways of doing this. If you like vegetables in your soup, cut them up small so they're bite-sized. If you don't like vegetables in your soup, leave the onion like either in half or whole, that way you can pull it out easy. Same thing with the carrots and celery. People that are going to be eating soup all like vegetables, so these are cut nice and small, and they'll just stay in the soup the whole time. Same thing with the carrots. If you don't like vegetables, leave the carrots whole, leave the celery sticks either whole or just in half. That way you can pull them out very easy. I have 2 whole chickens, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. We're actually going to, before we do anything, we're going to get this cooking because this does take a while to cook. I'm going to put just a tablespoon or so of olive oil in my pot to saute it. Funny. You don't want to go too much oil because you don't want grease in your soup. I'll put the garlic in later. There's 3 tablespoons of chopped garlic. That'll go in after this cooks for about 5 or 6 minutes. So what I do with the chicken, I wash my chicken first, and these were whole chickens. I basically, on this side you'll see all the bones. Bones are really good for soup. There's still meat on the bones. Not a lot of meat, but there's still a little bit of meat. Over here I have all the chicken. Now, I'd like to dice up the chicken first. That way when the soup is done, I just pull out the bones and the soup is ready. If you want to put the whole chicken in the pot, you can do that. But then when the soup is done, you actually have to take the chicken out, pull all the meat off it, get rid of the bones. And to me, it's actually easier to do it in the beginning. And so I'm just going to show you what I did with this. First thing that you want to do is you want to get rid of the skin. Skin has a lot of fat in it. Sometimes this is hard to pull off, so you just take a paper towel, which should come off relatively easy. The skin should just pull right off. And if you see any big clumps of fat, you can cut that out. You don't want fat in your soup because it will make your soup fatty. This I'm going to basically take off the bone. You want to get as much meat as you possibly can, obviously. And this is fine to use just as is. This, I'm going to cut the meat off. This is a small knife, paring knife. If you see any bones or tendons, just take it off. A little bit of tendons over there, I'll just cut that off. Same thing on this side. I'm going to give my onions a stir. Or mirepoix, I should say. And this is ready. So these I'm just going to cut in bite-sized pieces. Make sure there's no little pieces of bone in there. So cut in half. And that way, like I said, when the soup is done, I just pull out the bones, soup is ready, and it's a little expensive, definitely a good tasting soup. This will yield probably about 1 gallon of soup. A little bit of fat over here, so I'll cut that off. I really try to get rid of as much fat as I can. I'm going to cut the breast in half. Once again, bite-sized pieces that you normally see in soup. So they're not very big. Years ago, when I first started, before I went to culinary school, I used to work in a deli, and they used to make homemade chicken soup, and this is how they made it. As I said, it is a little pricey, but really good tasting soup. This will go over here. This has to saute for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to cook this, like I said, for 5 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like in a few minutes, okay? So our mirepoix, our onions, carrots, and celery have been cooking probably about for 4 minutes, I'd say. And at this point, I'm going to add the garlic and just cook it out for another 2 to 3 minutes. All this stuff will get fully cooked when the soup is cooking. However, I like to saute it a little bit. So I'm just going to keep stirring this so the garlic doesn't burn. This is quite hot right now. I'm going to stir this continuously for the next 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'll show you what to do. So our garlic has been cooking now for just about 2 more minutes. And at this point, we're going to add our chicken, both the bones and the cut up chicken. Actually, I'm not going to be able to do it that way. Just do it this way. And as usual, I will put the recipe in the description down below. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cover this with water. It should be about 1.25 gallons. I do actually have to get some more water, so give me 1 second. So in the end, I wound up changing pots. The other pot I had was too small. I put 1.25 gallons or 20 cups in here of water. I did use filtered water. If you have filtered water, by all means use filtered. If not, then use whatever you have. Once it comes up to a boil, turn it down to a simmer and cook it for about 1 hour and 15 minutes or so. And we'll take a look at it then. So I'll see you in 1 hour and 15 minutes. So our soup just came up to a simmer, and I forgot to say this before, so I do have to say it now. You notice it's simmering over here. What this is actually scum, and it comes up from the bones and certain things. And it's not that it'll hurt you if you eat it, but it's not something you really want to eat. So we're just going to skim all that off and then let it simmer away. This is basically a skimmer. If you don't have this, you can use a ladle to get this off. Try not to take too many vegetables. Some of the vegetables go to the top, and very often you'll get some. If there's a lot of fat in here, then you should definitely use a ladle. Actually, hold that thought for 1 second. Really closely over here, you can see a little bit of fat or oil. So that's where that ladle comes in. And you want to try to get some of the fat off. And that's pretty good. In a little while, I might skim this again. Every now and then I will give this a stir, so if there's anything at the bottom, it won't stick to it. And if any more scum comes to the top, I will skim it off. But at this point, we're just going to let it simmer for the next 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like. See you soon. So my soup was cooking for just about 1.5 hours. And the next thing I'm going to do, I just pulled it off the stove, is I'm going to go fishing. And when I say go fishing, I'm going to take out all the bones, because nobody likes bones. So I'm going to work on that, and then I'll show you what's next. So I took all the bones out of our soup, and I also added some salt and pepper. The amounts will be down below, and you can take a look at it. I have just about 1 gallon of soup here. Both myself, my cameraman, and his wife have all had at least a bowl, maybe 1.5 bowls of soup. It's actually really, really good. You can take a look at it and see what it looks like. The nice thing about it, about cutting the chicken up beforehand and cutting the vegetables, when you're done with the soup, you just take the bones out, which are all really large, and your soup's ready. Ready to serve and it tastes delicious. So like I said, I threw some salt and pepper in there, and we're good. So anyway, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and leave your comments down below. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Be well.